Good Vibes Only is here to take you on a journey to discover the weird and wacky world of wellness. It's brought to you by the globally renowned skin and wellness expert Marie Reynolds, who holds over 36 years of experience within the skin and wellbeing industry. Each week, Marie shares her own holistic lifestyle hacks and chats to other leading wellness experts to find out their good vibe story, discussing how they deal with day-to-day stress, anxiety, sleep, and skin issues. Listen in as Marie explores why, when it comes to our health and wellness, we need to look beyond the linear, question the norm, and think outside the box.
I am joined today by the glorious Israel Ajose, and I met him at a mutual friend's wedding, and we just straight away clicked. And I would have never in a million years have said that this giant man, this man mountain, was an astrologer. You've done an astrology reading for me.
Yes, we did one, yes.
And I was blown away. There was so much to it. I suppose in my mind, growing up, you know, the astrology readings are things that you look in a magazine. This was completely different. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then tell the listeners how you got into it, because you was a boxer.
Yes, most certainly, yes, yeah.
You was a boxer. So I want you to tell the listeners how astrology has been a core part of our civilization across the planet, really.
Yeah, definitely. My name is Israel Ajose. I've been a professional astrologer for 20 years, but I went full-time in terms of consulting, so to speak, probably about 12, 13 years ago. And as you rightly stated, yes, I was a boxer in my previous work at that time. I sort of grew up in I don't want to sort of like victimize myself in any way. I didn't come from a bad home. I did have like good parents, good loving parents, but I suppose it was more affiliation, the area, you know, hanging out with the wrong kind of crowd.
Yeah, I know the area very well.
You know, so it was more of like guilty by association or hanging out with the wrong crowds and just winding up into trouble and that kind of thing. I mean, some of it was harmless. It was just young children or kids doing what kids do, but it was kind of going down a road of self-destruction in some kind of way. Right. And that's where I met a gentleman who said, look, you getting in trouble with the police every week and all this kind of stuff. You know, why don't you go down, you know, take up boxing? He goes, you're a big lad, you look like a fit lad, do some sports or something like that. And I thought, okay, yeah, fine. It was my opening to the world of boxing. And I took to it like a duck to water. I really loved it. I was very, very good at it. And boxing was immensely teached me discipline, you know, and I just even, it was actually amazing because my life turned around. I went from this young kid that was out late at nights, getting into trouble. He got to a point where mum said, like, I just don't know anymore. Like, I don't know when the police are going to ring and say, look, your son's down the police station, he's down the nick, he's got in trouble again. And I went literally from that to being, I'm talking waking up every morning, going jogging, you know, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, coming home, resting, eating, going to the gym, coming back home again, resting, going back again to the gym, and then being in bed at 10 o'clock. So to wake up early again in the morning to go jogging. And that's how I lived my life.
That is such an amazing discipline for young people to get into, especially if they're in sort of like an area that, you know, there isn't much. I mean, when I was younger, there were like more youth clubs and things like that.
Yes.
But now, you know, there's nothing for young people, you know. So I think getting into that discipline, getting into looking after your health, looking after your well-being, not only physically, but mentally as well, is really good to channel all of that into, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And that's what happened. I was able to just channel all my energy in some kind of way into boxing. And I had a very good trainer who looked after me. And even in my amateur days, I got to travel so many places. I mean, if anything, that kind of opened my eyes up to traveling because I got to box, represent England. I would box, go to Sweden, Germany. We went to all around the world, basically. So boxing was really good. And I just really, really loved it. And although it was keeping me obviously on the straight and narrow and everything, Mum in a way didn't kind of really want me to do it, obviously, because
of course, you're a baby.
Exactly, you know, you're going in the ring and you're getting hit. But because I was coming back with the results, I had the trophies, I was winning, I became ABA champion, London champion, England champion. It was like, okay, she was kind of going along with it. Like, okay, well, that's fine. You seem to be doing well and know what you're doing.
I remember in my youth, I used to go and watch lots of boxing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, York Hall, at York Hall.
Yeah. That's where I had my first professional fight.
Oh my God. So I was always at York Hall watching fights. And I think I saw this one fight and it really absolutely freaked me out and I couldn't go and watch it again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this chap had a hit to the head, but there was so much blood and it just looked so traumatic. So goodness knows what your poor mum went through. That's all I can say. God bless her.
Yeah. So it was, it was like that. So she never would come and watch me fight. After I'd won the fight, when it was recorded, she'd watch, probably watch it at home. But I did have a few family members, sisters would come down now and again and come and support me and stuff. So I had very good supporting background. So that was my life. And I thought that was going to be my life. I thought I was just going to box, aim to become world champion, make as much money as I can and retire. But it seemed the universe obviously had something else in store for me. So what happened is I turned professional. I had a few fights. I was doing quite well. Name was ringing bells about up-and-coming fighter. I was doomed as this big prospect that was going to do good things in boxing. And then the real catalyst actually was when my mum passed in 99. And that was sort of like the turning point. So after that, I was never kind of the same. That really hit me quite hard.
Yeah, it would do.
Yeah, so it wasn't easy. So that really affected me psychologically. I think I was never the same after that, especially knowing that although I was winning, she didn't sort of like fully approve because, you're getting hit to the head and stuff like that. So I think that also had a subconscious kind of effect also on me as well.
Yeah.
She still approved that she's passed, but I still wanted to go on with it, but I was not the same after that. So I went soul searching. I started traveling. I went to places like India, Israel and stuff like that. And I was just trying to find myself. I had a few like spiritual readings and part of it started to come up in the readings that boxing's not good. You're going down another path, a more spiritual path. And I was just totally lost because I thought, well, boxing's all I know. And, what am I going to do? That kind of thing. And that's where I found astrology.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, I don't know nothing about astrology. What the hell is the sun sign and that kind of stuff?
Did you have an astrological reading then?
Yeah.
It really resonated with you.
Oh, yeah. I had not just an astrological reading. Before I actually had the astrological reading, I had a psychic reading. I had a very good friend of mine who, at the time, he knew I was kind of going through a bit of difficulty. And he goes, look, there's this lady. He goes, my mum, you've been seeing this lady for over 30 years, even as a kid. We go and see this lady. She's a psychic. He goes, I recommend you go and see her. He goes, she'll be very helpful. She might give you some insights. Yeah. So I thought, and I kept putting it on the back burner. I wouldn't go, and then he saw me like a couple of weeks later. He goes, have you been to see her? And I went, no. And he goes, don't see her. He goes, trust me, you'll be fine. She's a great lady and stuff. I thought, okay. So I kept putting it off. And then I thought, let me do it anyway. So I gave this lady a call.
Yeah.
And the lady said to me, I'm not in London. I don't do face-to-face readings anymore. I do readings over the phone. So we arranged a date and time to do the reading. And she gave me this reading that absolutely, as I'm actually speaking to you right now, the hairs on the back of my neck are literally standing up. I'm getting goosebumps. That's every time I think of this lady. She literally blew me away. The first thing she mentioned, actually, even in the reading, was about my mum who had passed about 6 months prior. And she mentioned that. And I thought, wow. Because I've always been not dubious. I mean, I was kind of open to it, but I didn't know that there could be perhaps that precise.
Yeah.
And then further into the reading, she said, you're not going to be boxing anymore. I'm seeing you're standing in front of people, you're teaching, you're doing stuff like this, astrology. And when she said that, at the time I was thinking to myself, what the hell is she talking about? I know nothing about astrology. I know nothing about, spiritual, I'm open, but I don't know nothing about it. And she goes, that's where you're going. I thought, God, and everything was perfect, but it was just that part. I just had a difficult time gripping with it because to me, I was like, I'm a boxer. That's all I know.
And they are so far apart from each other.
Exactly. It's like they're not even related in any way, shape, or form. I'm thinking, what is she talking about? Yeah. So after the reading, I still had a bit of difficult time, but obviously because I didn't know nothing about astrology. So I thought, okay, I tried again to sort of like get into the boxing kind of thing, and that was odd as well. Literally, a few days actually even after that reading. And I was known, even amongst my friends as a boxer, I would never skip a day of training, like never. They used to call me the robot man. And I went to the gym, and for some reason, it's almost like the spirit of boxing had been removed. It's like, I'm not supposed to be here. And then that's when I knew that, there's something's up here. I've got to give this up. So a few months later, it was my birthday. I had this new computer, and the internet was still kind of like a new thing then.
Yeah.
So I used to go on the internet and, so it was coming up to my birthday, and I thought, what am I going to do for my birthday? And for some reason, I just put astrology and tarot. And then on that weekend of my birthday, there was a tarot course. And it was not too far from where I lived in Belsize Park at the time. And I thought, I'll go to this. And the course was held by a lady called Liz Greene. And she's like one of the biggest things in astrology and tarot. So I went down there, and this woman blew my mind. And I thought, right. And a month later, I signed up, did the astrology course, and then she was doing a diploma, and I did the diploma, and I took to it like a duck to water. With the boxing, it was
your calling.
Exactly.
So for the skeptics out there, explain a little bit about the science of astrology, because astrology has been around for millennia, and it was relied on, as we know, it was relied on by many people, especially royalty and the hierarchy. Yeah. And then it wasn't until, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it the Greeks that set it into the 12 houses or the 12 signs?
Yeah, it developed a lot of it. Astrology is actually the mother and father of all sciences. I don't care which kind of science you want to think. Why do I say that? Because depending on your perspective or your understanding about early man or our ancestors or the ancients, we have to remember that was the first interaction. They saw sun rising, sun setting, new moon, full moon. We had a full moon just yesterday. These are the things which they saw in their surroundings, their immediate surroundings. They saw constellations rising and setting. They saw different patterns in the sky. This was their first. They noticed that, there seems to be a full moon here every 30 days. Or the seasons change every 4 months. Okay, so they're seeing that, and they were able to relate that with different planetary rising, setting.
Ancient civilization have built monuments in alignment of the stars.
Exactly.
The pyramids. Yeah. I don't know whether you've ever read it, and if you haven't read it, you must read it because it's right up your street. Have you ever read The Fingerprints of the Gods?
Yes.
Amazing. Blew my mind. Yes. So stars and the alignment of the stars and the planets, and even the Vikings, they used to use calcite along the horizon with the sun.
Exactly.
Navigation.
So that's what navigation. That's what essentially it was about. So astrology is not just about physical navigation. It's also about psychological and spiritual navigation also as well. Yeah. So the ancients were able to relate these different positionings and placements of the sun, moon, the constellations in the heavens. They were able to relate that to human affairs, mundane affairs. They noticed that every time I have my menstrual cycle, it coincides with the moon being in a certain place. They realized that the moon corresponds with the high tides and low tides, the ebb and the flow of the waters, the crops, the seasons. So they were able to tie that in with human affairs, with human psychology also as well. So they noticed when certain planets were in certain positions in the heavens, tribes would go to war, things like that. They noticed at certain seasons there'd be a flood or there'd be a drought. So that's how astrology actually started to develop. And then it started to grow from there. And then they divided the sky into 12 sections. And that's where we get the 12 houses from. So the Hellenistics were one of the oldest, what we've got in terms of writing on record, the oldest astrological records that we got actually are Babylonian. They have the oldest documentations. But you have the ancient Egyptians also as well. They've got very old documents. In India as well, they've got very old. But the Hellenistic period, I'm talking probably about 200, 300 BCE. They really thrived on astrology and really developed it, if you want to say, and were able to utilize it as a system. They were able to take stuff from the Babylonians, from the Egyptians, and merge it and build on that also as well. So the Hellenistics really did a great job in making what astrology is, as we understand it today, with the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 12 houses and the planets and what they represent.
When you did my reading and you showed me the chart, I couldn't believe the amount of mathematical working outs of it. I couldn't understand.
Yeah, definitely.
It was so impressive. And I know we've definitely got to do the second one, because the first one, you blew my mind. It was just so spot on.
Yeah.
So if you explain how astrology can fit into people's health and well-being.
Oh, most definitely. Astrology plays a huge part. As a matter of fact, in the ancient days, you could not be a doctor or physician without the knowledge of astrology. It was impossible. Hippocrates, Imhotep, all of the great physicians, Asclepius, all of these people, they had to know knowledge. They all, even in their documents, we can still find evidence of astrology in their documentation up until today. It's still available. So you had to know that because it was very important. Much of that was to do with the moon. Yeah. Because the moon, as I said earlier on, as we know, it controls the waters. It controls the tides, the ebb and the flow. Well, the human body is 75% water.
Exactly.
So the moon's cycle, as it's cycling, it's having an effect on our physical body, which further produces certain chemical reactions. So that also affects our emotions, our mood.
And that's where the word lunatic comes from, doesn't it? Because of the pull on the brain and the different changes in mood.
Yes. Right. And there's actually also been scientific proof that during the time of a full moon, at certain times of the year, police tend to be more busy. Ambulances and hospitals tend to be more busy. Nurses who have testified that, they have seen far more. Of course, hospitals and ambulances are busy every day, but it's more.
It's intensified.
It's more intensified during a full moon. So these are the things that we've seen. Also as well, animals in the wild, not so much the domesticated ones, but animals in the wild tend to give birth during full moons. So they all correspond with full moons. Oysters always open and close. They open up during the full moon. So we see nature and things around us that are corresponding with full moon. So our body is also a part of that because we are part of nature. So the moon, based on where it was at the time of our birth, can shed a lot of light on the kind of body that we have, the kind of emotions that we have, the kind of illnesses that we are predisposed to having. Some people are predisposed to having certain illnesses more than others. This is quite interesting now because now even science or hospitals are now confirming like there are illnesses that are somewhat hereditary. Well, all of this is connected with the moon. In astrology, the moon represents one's family, one's heritage, one's background, one's ancestral patterns, one's habits, and things that we also hold in our emotional DNA. So, so astrology sheds now a lot of light in terms of health and perhaps maybe the foods that we should perhaps be eating. And this is where astrology plays a huge part because based on your moon sign, and this is something that often people don't know about, again, like what you said, due to the popularity of newspapers and magazines, people often know their sun sign, but we also have what's known as a moon sign. You also have a Mercury sign, a Venus sign. So we have 7 planets in our solar system that we can see with the naked eye, and they are very important. So we have to know where all of them are.
Yeah, it's like the yin and the yang, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
It's like the balance, the yin and the yang, and understanding that every single one of us are all depending on our environment, our lifestyle, and also from what you've explained, what planets are in alignment when we were born.
Exactly, because this is one of the reasons why sometimes astrology is seen as a little bit general, or it's loosely out there, because one of the issues is science is based on if I take A plus B, I get C. Science works on a very rational, limited basis. If I mix this chemical with this chemical, I get this. You can't really do that with astrology. Why? Because no two times are exactly the same.
No.
So no 2 birth charts are exactly the same. Yeah. You get birth charts that are similar, like with twins, for example, or people maybe born on the same day, born on the same year. Yes, but they're not going to be the same because everything is moving and it's all based on. So there's no way that you can have like maybe 1,000 charts because the chances of you getting 1,000 shots of 1,000 people who are born exactly at the same time, same place, you're not going to get that. Even twins, there's going to be minutes apart.
Yeah.
Your birth chart, based on the place, time where you were born, is identical for you. That's like your fingerprint. That's your cosmic DNA. That's your cosmic signature. So there's no other one that is like that. You know, not even twins will carry the same.
I think for me, what really blew me away was that you told me from this chart, and this chart is amazing, about the relationship that I had with my dad, the relationship I had with my mum, the relationship I had with my daughter, and also the relationship my daughter had with her father. And you could not have known that.
Yeah.
We've only met a couple of times. And when we met, all we talk about is energy and stars.
That's right.
There's no way that you could have known about my family.
The astrological chart is very revealing. It really shows us what it is, where we are coming from, and where it is that it is more suited for us to be heading. It shows us where we are coming from, the parents that we are born unto, the kind of experiences that we would have had in our early childhood years growing up, because that is a part of the thing that makes us. So the astrological chart is showing both nature and nurture. So that's the thing. It's not one or the other. It's both. And if we allow ourselves to be open to that and understand that, then we can make better choices, health-wise, physically, and in other ways as well, perhaps our emotional life, our relationship life, financial life, business life, career life. And we can also allow ourselves to grow, develop even stronger, and make better choices in life for the future also as well. And that's where astrology really essentially comes in. So in the ancients, you would have had to have consulted an astrologer, or when you went to the physician in terms of your health, they would have to know some kind of astrology. They'd need to know where is your moon, because the moon would actually also shed light onto perhaps maybe the best time to do an operation. So these are the little things, like it could even just be going to the dentist, wanting to pull out teeth. There's a time for everything. And this is what astrology is based on. It's the science and the psychology of time. And there's a time for everything, as we know. There are certain times that are best for certain things than others. And astrology allows us to understand that, this is a good time for doing this. This is a good time for doing that. This is not a good time for this, and this is not a good time for that. So everybody has these opportunities and doors that are opening and closing. So we're living through a life of like sliding doors. So astrology allows us to know that door's open. You can go through it now, or you can make an attempt. So sometimes that's why people say, I tried this and it didn't happen. Right. It didn't happen for a reason. It's okay. Just step back. When the time is right for that door to open, it will open. So these are the kinds of things that astrology really sheds light on, and gives us that really firm grounding and understanding about who we are. And it's also important to know that, okay, fair enough, it might not be a time for this, but why is it not a time for that also as well? And it's not a time for that because there's something else in your life that you should be paying attention to, and it's time for that.
And this is what I always say, like, especially with my daughter, when things happen, I just say, look, you've got to look at it as a blessing. And I always believe that things happen for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. So you just have to think, right, okay, it's not my time, or what can I learn from that?
What's the lesson? I think we have to be mindful, because sometimes, and I understand, of course, we get frustrated and we do get halted, or we do get stopped, or we get blocked for some reason. And sometimes it can be painful, especially we're living in a life, especially in this day and time, where we want everything so quick.
Yeah. We
want it now. There's this total disregard for, that planting and that growing and that, that nurturing and it's like, bang, quick. We want quick results, fast success, that kind of thing. And astrology is a very great science that can allow us to say that, no, well, it's not time for this yet. It hasn't developed yet, or it hasn't fully grown yet, it hasn't matured yet. Just like a crops, a farmer doesn't just plant it and next day goes and uproots it. He's got to wait. It's got to go through certain kind of months and seasons before that, okay, it's ready now. Now we can now harvest it. And astrology is one of those sciences that really shows us that. So we've got to understand that we'll get blocked, or, something inhibits us in some kind of way, and we see that as bad. And that's not the case. We have to be able to say, what is it you're trying to show me? And what is the blessing in it? And to be able to flip it, and to be able to turn quote unquote what we perceive as bad or the negative actually into a positive, because wherever there is something negative, there has to be something positive.
Yeah, of course. It's like a
It's the
pendulum,
laws of
isn't it?
nature. It's the laws of the polarity. You can't have one without the other, and vice versa also as well. So it's being able to say that, okay, what is the positive? Because if one door shuts, one must be open. That's the laws of nature. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
You know, one must be open. So if it's daytime, obviously there's no night for a reason. If there's night, there's no day for a reason. And each one has their particular strengths and potentials in terms of what they are given. So we have to know that, okay, I've hit this brick wall. Okay, so what do I do in the meantime? You see, so sometimes when the doors are blocked, maybe it might be a great time for healing or focusing on other things in our life.
Well, I mean, it's like myself at the moment. I mean, I've just damaged my shoulders time after time after time through no fault of my own. I mean, like the last time it was saving a couple and it just ripped both of my shoulders.
Right.
So for me, it's the most frustrating time, but I have to accept that I have to rest at this time.
Right, exactly.
So I've taken 2 months off. I'm going to have a procedure and I'm resting. And I just think, look, as much as it is frustrating for me to not work and I have to turn people away, I have to rest up myself.
You've got to rest yourself, exactly. But also as well, what you're probably also doing as well, while you're resting, you're probably having more time to communicate, talk, read, learn. So it's quite interesting because looking at it from a symbolic perspective, the shoulders and the arms in astrology are ruled by Mercury. They're ruled by the planet Gemini. And this is about sign Gemini. So this is about communication and learning and mental stimulus. The universe is saying, okay, don't worry, you're still going to be doing your healing, but we need more energy for you to go in that direction where you can communicate with people, learn, teach, spread the word.
A lot of people think that it's like fortune telling, but I more or less think of it like...
It is.
Well, it is, but I personally think it's more like a map. It's like your life's map that you can take, and it gives you sort of like direction. If you want to take that direction, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's fine. But it almost gives you a direction. And I know that you actually read for quite well-known people in the state, all over the world. If people do want to get to you, tell them how to reach you. Tell them your Instagram handles or your social handles.
No problem. No problem. So my Instagram handle is Sacred Planets. So again, one word, Sacred Planets. So you can reach me there and you can send me a message, follow me, I'll follow you back. And you can get in contact with me there. I do have a website, which is www.sacredplanets.com. You could also reach me on my email, which is sacredplanets@gmail.com. So you could also reach me there. It's all Sacred Planets, so it's quite easy. I'm also on Facebook as well, but that's under Israel Ajose. So you can also find me there as well. But just like what you said there in terms of fortune telling, it's actually both. It is about finding yourself. It is a navigation. But astrology also reveals and opens up that door that everybody in this world who is born has a fortune somewhere, and it's about that navigation. It's navigating us to where our success is also as well. What happens to many of us as human beings is we're trying to be something that we're not, and astrology is trying to show you that this is who and what you are. So being that this is who and what you are, you're best suited in this category or this direction. And for you and for somebody else, it's somewhere else also as well. But we tend to pigeonhole a lot. We go to the school, we're in the same class, with 20, 30 students in one class, one teacher, one curriculum. So they expect everything to be very uniformed. So we're often getting mixed messages in society because we're all going to the same school. We may all belong to a collective kind of religion. We're often sort of like put in these boxes of categories, and it doesn't allow us to be individuals.
No, that's right.
So sometimes we get blocked, and we're doing things because maybe our parents want us to do it, so it's traditional, maybe because of the school we went, the peers that we hang around, social media. We're often sort of, oh, this is what we should be. And it's like, no, astrology is trying to say, no, this is who you are, and this is where your fortune is. If you follow that, you will find your fortune there. You'll find your, if you want to say, of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's in that direction.
A lot of people think fortune is to do with money, but success and wealth to me is your health, or your career, or your family.
Most definitely, yes. I mean, your one's health, that is your true wealth.
Of course,
if anything. It's no good having billions of pounds in the bank and then you ain't got good health to go with it. It makes no sense whatsoever. So you're absolutely correct. So yes, when we're talking about fortune, you can be fortunate in so many different ways, and definitely health should be number one, at the top of the number one of the list. But whether it's financially, relationships, love, emotionally, also as well, homely, family, that's also a part of the fortune that we all want in life as well, and to want to better also in life too. So astrology is a great tool that really pins and shows us that, hey, this is where your destiny lies. This is the direction best suited for you as an individual. So we're talking about physical health, but also emotional and mental health also as well is also very important as well. So to be happy, to be fulfilled. I know people who've worked certain jobs and it's well paid, but they're not happy there.
No, they're not fulfilled or happy.
But it's great money. So it's all about being in a place where that is best suited.
So before we finish, I want to ask you, what is your good vibe only hack? What do you do to feel good? What do you do to chill?
Oh God, can I say that on this?
Say what you like. Say what you like, it's fine.
It's a 3-letter word.
That's the thing that you feel good for you.
But no, I do enjoy many things. I love traveling. Traveling gives me, I love studying and like reading, especially like anything to do with ancient stuff, history, philosophy, astrology, of course. I really love those things. I do like my food. When I say I like my food, eating it, but also making it as well. I'm a great cook. So
fantastic.
I love getting into the kitchen, and I'm supposed to be on British Bake Off soon. So
are you?
Yeah. It's looking good so far. So
oh God, I'm so excited.
Hopefully that. So I do like, baking cakes and making foods and lovely dishes. I like feeding people for some reason. So it's something that I enjoy doing. So I get a lot of pleasure. And then after that, sex. I mean,
good. You can't be that.
Can't be
release those endorphins.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's really that and food. I'll tell you, I'm good to go.
Well, listen. On that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I always love talking to you. It's such a delight, and you're so interesting. And we'll have to definitely get that second part of my astrology chart.
Good. Well, let's do it. Thank you.
That's it for this week's Good Vibes Only episode. But there's plenty more wholesome, holistic information where that came from. Check out Marie's website, www.mariereynolds.london.com, or follow Marie on socials. For Marie's products, follow at Marie Reynolds London on Instagram and Facebook, and at Marie Reynolds_London on TikTok. You can also follow Marie's day-to-day content on Instagram. Follow at Marie Reynolds_MRL. Thank you so much for listening to Good Vibes Only. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to subscribe to and review the podcast wherever you listen to them. And remember to share the episode too. See you next time.